Clubhouse.
Welcome back to Pod Clubhouse's Spotlight on Indie Authors. This is your host, Paul, and today I'm with the writing duo of Rachel Cooper and Aoife Wai. How are you guys doing today?
Doing great, thanks.
Yeah.
All right, well, I met Rachel at Comic Palooza at the stand where she was selling books, and that's where I came across Hidden Tiger, which was a book that you guys collaborated on, along with Robin Weidman, is that right?
That's right, yeah.
And then you guys also have some projects together and not together besides Hidden Tiger. So let's get into all that stuff, starting with maybe where we started as writers. Were you creative writing devotees all throughout school, or did you maybe find it later?
Oh, definitely was from when I was a child. I think Rachel was similar as well. Like, I would have always been writing stories, poems, that sort of thing. And when my dad got his first computer, I'll probably give my age away, by the old Mac, like in black and white or what have you. I remember doing up a story on that. So it's always been something that's been there.
Those Macs had kind of a charming, like, blue and dark gray screen. You know it's a Mac. What about you, Rachel?
Yeah, very similar start. Definitely when, learned to write, enjoyed writing stories, making up things, and then always put it on a back burner to say of like, one of these days it'll be on my bucket list. I want to write an actual book. And so it just came a lot earlier. I was thinking, past age 50, and it came several years before then when it actually happened.
I understand that. Past age 50, you kind of mentally are like, well, my kids are pretty old at that point. So,
yeah.
So some time might open up, maybe. So then, has it always been fantasy that you like to read and write, or do you dabble?
Predominantly, we've written in the fantasy space, but have gone into kind of more niche into LitRPG, and kind of started with progression fantasy. And I think for both of us, it came out of being fans of the genre as well. So like, I was reared on fantasy, and then as a teenager, got really into horror. I then went back, as I say, to once the kids, you were mentioning kids earlier there, got a little bit older, because there was a number of years there where I wasn't really reading for fun for a long time. And I was introduced to a couple of Cultivation novels, and that into LitRPG. And like that, when we got the opportunity to write together, that's what we were like, oh, we love this. This is what we love to read. It would be great to write in this genre.
I started reading Hidden Tiger, and immediately it's kind of the difference between that book and, say, I've read Game of Thrones and I've read Fellowship, but I haven't read the other two. And, so those are kind of like tentpole fantasy books that people have read. And in comparison, like the magic in those is sort of like, well, there's a little bit. There's a little bit. Nobody knows how to use it, so you don't need to concern yourself with it that much. But in yours, the magic's right up front. It's or kind of what I'm calling magic is just kind of, access to supernatural abilities, whatever. But it seems much more rigidly defined. There's levels, there's various kind of ranks within levels and all that. Is that element something that you find attractive about this genre?
Yeah, I think that is one of the things that at least gets me hooked in, especially even reading the genre. With the Hidden Tiger, having that system set up to where you can bring in those elements of magic and expanding on it, so it's not just a standard fantasy where you have someone that has powers. You actually get to see the numbers behind it, the kind of the quantitative piece, and that's kind of see how it develops over time with the character as they progress.
So it's more of tangible in the reader's mind.
Yeah, and then every time they get a level up with their skill, it's like a woohoo moment, the dopamine hit.
It's like what they could do before, and then, like, say, in terms of, say, like Cultivation, when they have a breakthrough into a newer level or stage or an increase in power, and then their reaction to that, and like it's what they can do now. that definitely keeps you reading. And like that, like I would have had a love for kind of soft magic systems, but these do tend, anything in LitRPG, whether it's kind of creamy or crunchy stats, which is basically just the amount that you will see within the story, it would be kind of a more like hard magic, like in comparison to a hard magic system. Yeah, it's just great to see how the character grows in power, we'll say, over the course of a series.
I've only read a little bit of Lit RPG, and I've read basically Dungeon Crawler Carl, and I understand that's sort of like a later entry into the genre at large. I was kind of surprised, actually, that for flying under my radar, that it was actually matured beyond its initial formation of what people were considering, you know, the beginning of the genre to where it is now. But I don't know stuff like cultivation and progression as different kinds of approaches is to the same thing, or can you explain that a little bit to me?
Say, when we started out writing first and reading in the genre, progression fantasy was kind of, and there will be different interpretations, different definitions for progression fantasy, lit RPG, but progression fantasy is basically, and lit RPG to an extent, you know, the story itself, it can't really exist without this element of progression. Progression has to be kind of like a main driving point in the story. So if you can take out those progression elements and still have the story going, then it's not really progression.
And then same with cultivation too. Like it's a similar pattern with the progression fantasy. Typically you have someone who has broken or an underdog, and they have to develop their powers so they can ascend to immortality or godhood. There's a lot of different types of subgenres, I guess, within the cultivation aspect, but that's just a general overview.
Cultivation fantasy would be like kind of inspired by kind of Eastern, like if you've heard of like Sanxia, Wuxia, it would have similarities. So you'll have some cultivation that are very heavily inspired, like, and either take place in a kind of historically accurate setting in, you know, China, we'll just say, like a good example of that would be 1,000 Li. That would be what I would have originally called Eastern cultivation, and then Western cultivation would have the cultivation system, but it's not recognizably from any particular location. Like a good example of that would be the Cradle series by Will White. There is definitely a cultivation system in there, but it's not Asian as such in its origins. It's completely its own thing, but it would have some inspiration from there as well.
Well, it sounds like there's some drawing from existing either religious or kind of mysticism or mythology in order to kind of build upon. Does that sound right?
Especially a lot of the Eastern and more traditional stories that would have come out of, like, say, web novel, and then also on Royal Road. These would be kind of free serialized, you know, reading platforms, or, you know, under subscription, depending. Royal Road would be free to read. And yeah, so like Taoism, that would be, again, you know, you could cultivate enlightenment and finding your Tao can be a big part of kind of soul cultivation. And then the physical strengthening could be body cultivation. So it would have inspirations on, or being inspired by Eastern practices.
Aside from just kind of some of the names in the book that I've gotten to so far, it definitely feels East Asian to me.
Yeah, Hidden Tiger would be of the Eastern cultivation style.
So how does a writing duo from two sides of the Atlantic Ocean actually get together and decide to start writing?
So we were both actually in a writing class together, and when Amazon put out Kindle Vella, which is a serialized fiction that they discontinued, it was only based in the U.S. at the time, so I sent out an invite to a few other people and see if anybody wanted to do a collab. And there are a few of us that were interested, and we kind of passed around whatever our interests were in terms of writing fantasy and things like that. And Aoife took up the offer and said, let's go for it. And then we've been writing ever since then.
Yeah, it was back in, 2021?
Yeah.
it's been great.
Pandemic gave you a moment to be like, you know what? I'm going to spend some time doing something I wanted to do.
Right.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Plenty of time to read and to write. Yeah. When you're at home.
So then you decide to start collaborating thanks to having met in class. And what was the first thing you tried to write? Was it one of these serialized stories that you were describing?
Yeah. The first series that we wrote together was Cultivation, but like more of an urban fantasy setting. So we had two characters, and one was a wolf shifter druid based in Ireland. And then we had Rachel. Do you want to talk about your character?
Yeah, as a mage coming into his powers, and who's from Texas. So we kind of both brought in our roots into the story.
Sounds like it, yeah.
So this is the series called Wolf and Flame.
Is this still findable in the internet?
Oh, yes.
Yes?
Yeah. But it would be under our very first pen names, which are different to the ones we're using now. You can find it under the Uncharted Bloodlines. I think that would probably be the easiest way to find it.
That's a pen name too on Amazon. So.
All right. Okay, so then you decide to start collaborating. And what does collaborating look like? Is it like you get one chapter, I get the next chapter, or I write a little, you review it, then I write a little, then you review it? Or how does that go?
And we actually started going chapter by chapter with that first series. And as we began to learn each other's kind of writing voice and the characters, we started just picking up where we are. And the nice thing about the time difference, there's a 6-hour time difference between us. Aoife will wake up in the morning and she'll write something like the first part of a chapter, and then I'll come in a little bit later, read what she's wrote, and like start writing in more after it. And that's how it started. We're pretty flexible, so there might be some times where we'll both collaborate and like get on a call to plot out chapters, so we have some general overview and plot points we want to touch base on. And Aoife's a pantser, so sometimes she'll go off course a little bit, but we always find a way to kind of bring it back in.
Yes, the outlines are essential.
And we edit each other's work, so it's a constant thing. I don't know how many times we edit so much after we're done, too. So,
yeah, shared documents on Google Drive. It's just so handy. So we can just put on suggested edits and work away. And then we can accept each other's edits, leave comments, all sorts of things. And then, as Rachel was saying, like we will meet most days during the weekdays, kind of like my evening and Rachel's morning. And we'll either plot, the next couple of chapters. And then again, as the next day comes, I'll start writing that. And then, as Rachel was saying, she'll come in and complete. And then we edit each other's work.
Well, that sounds very collaborative. I've read other co-authoring situations where it was written chapter by chapter, and there was such a difference. It was like, holy crap, these are very different writers. One is very plotty and very like action oriented. The other one is, I don't know, it's all internal. And so it feels a lot slower in comparison to the other chapters. It was like a start stop kind of feeling reading that kind of book. But it sounds like that's not what you're doing.
Yeah, no, and we've had people who've read our work, one for a submission to a publisher, and that was something that they commented on, was that they could not tell, there was no shift in writing style or anything jarring about the way we wrote. It was just like seamless, so that was nice to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure it's like that's what we were trying to do.
Yeah.
Okay, so you mentioned like you have one person that can work when the other one's basically asleep. That must feel pretty productive during those times when you guys are hitting on all cylinders.
Yes, yeah. No, we have gotten on a roll. Like with the very first series, I think we both noticed it by about the third book out of 4 in that series. We were like, wow, we really hit our stride. And since that, I mean, obviously there's been differences in how our days have been structured due to, children in school or off school and other family commitments and things like that. But overall, when we're going, and we've got the series planned and ready to go, we can be very productive in getting words down and a book finished, within, like, it depends, anywhere between 1 and 3 months for a first draft. And again, depending on what's going on at the time, but we have hit those ranges in the past.
That's pretty impressive. When you do write, this is, I guess, for both of you, like, do you have a preferred writing mode? Is it, secluded away from distractions, or is it just kids are watching TV and that's the only time I got to write, so I gotta write, or how's it work?
So my optimum time is when the kids are in school. Early to mid-morning is the best writing time. I have that peace and quiet, music kind of in the background. And then if the kids are around, say after school or something, every now and then I'll get a chance to write a few extra words, but there's a lot of distractions.
Yeah, I'm not good with distractions at all. So yeah, I mean, when we were first writing and the kids were that bit smaller, I used to get up at 5. I'm a bit of a lark. So I would get up at 5 and I'd probably be well caffeinated early on in the morning, and I would get the words down. And I got to a point where we have an office just out the back. So I would come out here and I have dictation software set up. So I'd try and get some dictation, writing dictation done before even the kids would be up for school.
Cool. So you do use a little bit of like voice to text to get ideas down?
Yeah, I've used Dragon Dictate. Now, I'd say recently I haven't been dictating to write, but we've been in editing mode for the last while. So I tend to just use the laptop sometimes, like that when the kids are gone to school. Now they're on their holidays now, but like that I would write until or edit until the youngest was due to come home from school.
Yeah, that sounds great. Sounds ideal. The people that can write anywhere, or you hear those stories about the person's first time novel they wrote in their car during their coffee breaks at work or whatever. Man, yeah. I can't even imagine having that kind of focus.
I think when I first started writing, I had my phone. I wrote the first 10 chapters on my phone.
Whoa.
While kids were running around playing in the pool. I mean, my husband also supervising the pool. So
it must have really felt like it needed to come out, though.
Yeah, I guess so.
It's a fun moment to look back on when you have kind of such a creative drive that you're like, I got to make this right now, or something's going to happen.
True.
All right. So more in the nitty gritty, looking at Hidden Tiger, since that's the one I'm most familiar with. There's a discussion of the heretical power that the main character is pursuing. What made that challenging and attractive for you guys to want to try to design something built in to the name heretical? Maybe that in the LitRPG world is something that people talk about all the time, but out in the real world, when they talk about heretical, they mean bad things. They mean against the church or whatever. So, or how'd you guys settle on that?
Yeah, I mean, it is a known cultivation term. So in regards to like one of the tropes in cultivation is going to a sect and growing stronger. So it's basically like an academy for learning magic, but in cultivation terms. And these sects can either be orthodox, like these righteous sects. And the thing that's really interesting about that is even the word like righteous, like it's the Eastern term of like a righteous sect can actually be a force for good, or can actually be domineering, we'll say, to a point where it can actually be seen as being evil in some ways, like an ends justify the means. And heretical sects are kind of like brooking those norms that are in the orthodox sects. And so it just means that you're not following what the majority are following to soul cultivation, we'll say, to become an immortal cultivator. And then there's like demonic cultivation and dark sex and demonic sex. And again, they're not necessarily like in the Western kind of view of, say,
dark and light,
of demons in mythology, would say, like in Chinese mythology. Yes, they can have like an unnatural source or what have you, but there can be a blurring of the lines between good and evil in that area as well. And it's just really, really interesting. So we were kind of working with something that was well known already and well read, and we'd read stories. I mean, I was a big fan of a lot of cultivation stories that dealt with kind of going up against dark sect cultivators. So it kind of was just something that we were drawn to write in our own story.
And one thing too that we always enjoy writing is like in reading, as well as the underdog in some cases, but also finding someone who wants to break that system and do their own thing, like forging their own path. I think in a lot of our series, we have tended to kind of write that aspect as well.
So heretical doesn't necessarily have the same meaning that it would just off out in the world. It's more of just a path to learning the power that, and there are many paths to choose from, or that you might apply to.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah.
So when I get deeper into the book, will I find that you have kind of a high crunch or a low crunch approach to your magic and powers?
Moderate.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. It's kind of medium. We've written another series that would be lower crunch, but this is kind of, I would say, medium. It's not heavy. Like, we don't go like pages and pages of stats where we're at, kind of assigning points. We don't do experience, and it's not like a VR game. But still, in all, there could be nearly to a page worth of his stats as like on a knowledge scroll as he kind of gains new skills. So it kind of grows over like in the first book. But Rachel was really great in setting everything up on spreadsheets. She's like really well organized and keeping everything together, and because you have to keep track. The more that comes in, you that's not something you can pants.
That's true.
So Rachel, you keep the rules straight on the magic system that you're building.
I try my best, yeah. And then if we do need to fix something, then I go in and fix it. May have to create a new spreadsheet. Well, we've had to do that before, but
oh gosh, yeah.
I was just going to add on to what Aoife was saying about Hidden Tiger. The stats we chose to display, like on his scroll of knowledge, were related to his kind of experience. We only put in things such as like his skills, his cultivation abilities, whereas like in other LitRPGs or even some cultivation, you will get other stats. So you might get more D&D type related, where you have strength, intelligence, and things with points assigned to them.
Well, since Dungeon Crawler Carl's my only other LitRPG touchstone, I don't get the impression that there's like a very like involved system there, but they do make a point of like adding numbers and kind of keeping certain things consistent. But it can also get sort of cumbersome whenever, as a reader, or in my case, a listener, when there is like a level up or something like that, and all of a sudden you have to learn all the new things, and it's several, pages describing these new abilities and stuff like that. And I don't think the crunch is very high in that story, because I've read other role-playing game books, like the rules for how to figure out events and stuff like that. So I know that there is the possibility of having all kinds of esoteric things. And so when you come across something that just sort of acknowledges that complexity without presenting all of the, math and figuring and all that makes more sense to this reader.
Yeah, and I think the main thing with any stats you include is you want to make them meaningful to the character and the story in general. Otherwise, you're just kind of throwing out the fluff, I guess.
Yeah, you don't want to kind of power creep, where they get to a level where they're just like punch them out and then they could, destroy anything and there's nothing there to challenge them anymore.
Mm-hmm.
That would be something we're mindful of as well when we're scaling power over the course of a series.
Yeah. You mentioned earlier, Rachel, that one path for a character might be to ascend to some sort of godlike status, but I assume that's the end when they do that, right? There's problems for gods too, I guess.
Some web novels, some of the traditional ones, it's like they ascend to another realm and they're like they're at the base again, and they've to basically, it's like climbing the mountain, immortal mountain, so, and then there's more and more realms.
I see.
And they keep kind of cycling through. Yeah.
So if you're mortal and you think godhood is the thing, then you get to godhood and it's like, actually there's another 25 levels beyond.
Yes. Yeah. And again, that's the kind of dopamine hit for readers, some now, in fairness, some people hate it and some people love it, so it really depends what your interest is.
For balancing, whenever you get an OP or overpowered character, sometimes you have to up the stakes for that character. It can't be just some bad guy. It's got to be what is it going to cost them, if they use that power. Is there something they have to sacrifice?
Do you guys play D&D or games like that?
Played it a little bit with other authors and at conferences, but I'm not in any way an expert player, but I enjoy watching others playing it as well. Like, it's just like storytelling, but again, with quantified and what people can do. And if you get a really good dungeon master, it's just so entertaining.
What about you, Rachel?
Likewise, I've only played a couple of one-shot D&Ds, but have watched a couple other people play as well.
So you have kind of a general understanding of the underlying rules, but maybe not all the stuff you need to know to run the game, but maybe play it.
Right. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Gotcha. So when you decided to build in like the academy setting, I assume that there's sort of like, just not even within LitRPG, but just any kind of YA era book, that there's going to be some tropes that you got to hit, but then there's got to be some that you want to make completely unique so that it stands out.
Yes. So I suppose, in the academy side of things, the tropes obviously are who are the teachers in this case, what are the relationships with the students. Obviously, you've got your bully characters, which in the case of Cultivation, they're known as like young masters. And there's a whole, there's so many memes as well that have come from this trope, like with the young master. And he's usually a very arrogant character, comes from a noble family. And then
Draco Malfoy, for lack of a better term.
Yes, yeah. And then others are like, there can be some quite ruthless ones in that they will not just come after you, but they will come after your entire family back to the 8th generation or something like that. There's all these terms, you dare, junior, you dare. You've got these face slapping elders, which are basically like the teachers in the academy. And again, you'll have some of them that will be quite, I suppose, kind of like Snape, will be the kind of scary character, in the teachers. And then you'll have the more benevolent, wise elders and things like that. And then within that, there is whatever classes. So it could be, there'll be the martial classes. So, where they're learning to fight or polishing skills that they've already honed from, wherever they originated from. And then you also bring in kind of like because what they're cultivating is a kind of energy known as chi. So it could depend as well where they originally came from. So if they came from a low chi area and the academy is in a higher chi area, which is usually the case. Like it's set in an area where they can cultivate, and grow in power stronger. And of course, the sects that are in the high chi areas are going to be even more powerful again. And so there's this whole comparison between those that live in low chi areas versus those that are in kind of like a higher chi area, and kind of look down on the weaker cultivators and mortals and things like that as well. So that's an interesting aspect onto the whole academy tropes, I think, as well.
Is there conventional wealth along with chi?
Yeah, like so you'd have like empires usually, like, and then the emperor, and there will be the whole, they will be wealthy as well as living in a high chi area, being the stronger. Like strength dominates over the weak, so it's like the weaker the meat the strong eat. So it's like almost like they see it as their duty to suppress those that are weaker, and if you don't, become strong, that's on you, kind of. But the stronger cultivators, the more wealthy cultivators, can also get access to very expensive cultivation aids. So it could be these like alchemy pills, like chi cultivation pills, that they can take to quicken up their cultivation breakthroughs into the next levels that people from poorer areas don't have access to.
Yeah, the pills make an appearance right away in the book.
Oh, they definitely do, yes. Yeah.
Since I'm new to it, I wasn't sure if those were like performance enhancing, like they wear off, or is it like once you take them and you do whatever you're supposed to do after that, then you have gained something permanently?
It's more a permanent gain. So like if you've got like meridian cleansing pills, like they are like your channels, if you want to say your energy channels, like you're making way for building a stronger core. And that's basically like where you are storing all of your energy and filtering out all of the impurities of the ambient chi that you can't cultivate, because that's another area that chi is usually broken into kind of elements. So, like earth, fire, wind and water, and cultivators can have an affinity for one element over another, and they need to filter out the impurities of the other elements that they don't have an affinity for, which leads to the whole kind of like when they break through, they tend to have this tarry substance that coats their skin to show that the breakthrough has happened, And that's another trope in cultivation, trope theme that you'd see in cultivation, and it's usually quite a powerful smell as well when those impurities are pushed out.
Sounds like shedding or molting or pupating.
Could be, yeah.
Interesting. Okay. With this book or any of the others, how do you two measure how successful your writing career is going? Is it just the fact that you're getting stuff out there and people are reading it, or do you get reader comments, or people come to you at conventions, or how are you as indie authors gauging how it's going?
Yeah, that's a tough question. I'd say like definitely the production of getting things out there. Like I think I've counted the other night, like we were up to writing 6 series right now. So it's always nice to see that kind of number go up just in general, because with each series you kind of get better at writing as well. So our most recent series is going to be better than our very first series. And like going to cons and being on panels and talking with readers and other authors, it's always nice because having someone come up to you and be inspiring to them, that's always a good feeling.
Yeah. And like that, if you're to look at the more business side of things, like again, Rachel kind of keeps track of where people are accessing, like how many clicks we're getting, like through we have a newsletter. So you can see some engagement there, and we have a Patreon as well. So we feel, I suppose, on the path to success. We're maybe still kind of somewhat in the early stages, but from a point of view of meeting and getting support in the genre, we feel like we've because it's such a welcoming space, we've got to know, tons of authors, narrators, and people in the industry and beyond in the LitRPG community. And that feels like a success in itself. And then, like, I suppose, as regards reviews and different things, like, Battle Bard probably has had the most success, if you want to say, as regards reviews. Hidden Tiger's still early days, but we are getting ratings in on that as well, which is always good, and, as Rachel was saying, like, feedback, whether it's constructive or it's just, something heartfelt that somebody, liked, or a character that they liked, that kind of builds us up and gives us ideas of what people like our readership like to read,
Yeah, I completely understand all that stuff. A long time ago, when I was in college, I was in art school, and I took a class that, believe it or not, was not required, where you didn't actually make any art. It was a writing class, and the professor brought in working artists who would tell us about what it is they do, whether they paint or they're graphic designers or sculpt or they own a print house or, whatever, because you remember people used to have those. And he would ask them, because we're all aspiring artists of some kind in the classroom. It's a senior level class, so you're just about done. And he would ask them, how many of you are earning your living from your art? And I think out of like that 10 people he brought, the answer was like 3. Whereas everybody else was doing their main thing and then fitting their art in, but still pursuing it into their, middle and later adulthoods and finding, satisfaction with that approach and still wanting to create, which was why they got invited. He didn't invite anybody that wasn't currently making stuff. But that was eye-opening. That was a shocker to me. Like, what do you mean you can't just be an artist? But yeah, that's the way it is. So I completely understand what you guys are saying with the engagement and the recognition and that kind of thing, and feeling like, man, you're doing it.
Yeah, no, it is. And like, just even to get a book published, even just the first time round, it's such a sense of achievement. And obviously, like, there is the monetary side of things as well. And, if, again, that would be a marker, if we look back to like year 1 to now, would say year 5 or that, like, we can see some growth, which is encouraging. And our growing authorship with other authors as well, and being published by Legion Publishers as well was well, we will be published later this year by them as well, and just being part of that group as well has been very uplifting for us as well.
I know that you have print books that are available at conventions. Do your print books make their way to store shelves?
Not yet.
Yeah.
I know that there's around me. There's a couple of local bookstores that have considered doing just putting them on the shelves there. But in terms of like mainstream stores, that's a future scalable goal.
Are you around Houston, Rachel?
I am. Yeah.
Have you ever been to Murder by the Book?
No, I've seen like pictures of it though. Is it pretty great or?
Yeah, it is. It is, kind of genre oriented, but it is mom and pop. It is locally owned. They don't answer to a higher god than themselves. And they will have authors come in, like local author Justin Cronin has actually been there before. I don't know if you've read The Passage, but it's a pretty good book. And he's from Houston and dropped in there. But I don't know if you know who Scott Sigler is, but he's a pretty well-known independent author. And he's traveled. He did like a book tour and he came to Murder by the Book. So
fantastic.
You might approach them because they have, like They're like the old style like video store, where they have like a shelf that says like Jane's Picks,
Right.
that sort of thing.
Sounds awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. There aren't that many though of shops like that. So but I do know that one, and they are good. All right. So if people want to find your stuff online and buy, order books or ebooks or whatever kind of stuff you have, what avenues are available to them?
The main place where they can kind of find everything for us would be like social media, newsletter access, would be unchartedbloodlines.com. And for Amazon is available for ebooks. Some we have audio for some as well on Audible.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm trying to think.
Yeah. They're on
Aoife.
they're on the unchartedbloodlines.com, but you'll find them on Amazon as well under Uncharted Bloodlines. Also with our new series that's coming out through the Legion Publishers. If you Google the Legion Publishers, they have a bookshop which they have a number of authors, all fantastic. You couldn't go wrong with any of the series up there. But our books are going to be for the series A Titan's Core, which is a tower climber isekai series that's under LitRPG genre. That's going to be available there, and there's a little bit about us in bios there as well.
And you can actually get that now, the paperback and hardbacks from that website. And then otherwise the ebook and audio will release August 25th, I believe is the date.
Have you brought her to Texas yet, Rachel?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
right. Yeah, we've been to a few conferences together now, which has been fantastic. And we did a research trip for one of our books, the Wolf and Flame series, which took part in New Orleans. So we got to visit there and your home place, and then on to the writing conference that we were going to at the time. Yeah, so absolutely been. I can't recommend them enough to go to the conventions. Anything to do with LitRPG or even the writing conventions we've gone to have been fantastic.
So you guys have a book coming out. It's already out, but it's coming out. And you guys continue just pumping out material. So be on the lookout for future work. Is the one that you mentioned, the Tower Titan?
Titan's Core, yeah.
Is that co-authored with anyone else, or is it just you two?
Just the pair of us. So that will be under my name, Aoife Wai.
And Rachel A. Cooper.
A. Cooper.
Rachel A. Cooper. That's important. All right. Well, it's been a pleasure talking to you both today. I've learned a lot about the progression versus the cultivation versus LitRPG. I didn't know any of that stuff coming into this conversation. It sounds like you guys have thought about it quite a bit. Could teach a college level class about it.
You never know.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, thank you for your time. It's been super fun.
Thanks
Thank you so
million.
much. Yeah, it's been great chatting with you.
On Clubhouse.